Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast. It's hot, scorching, in my opinion, beautiful Monday in Chicago. What's going on, everyone? Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Nicholas Moreano. What a nice little weekend. Happy, all good?
Yes, happy Dad's Day to one and all out there. Dog dads, human dads.
That too.
Old dads, young dads, stepdads, no dads. Happy Dad's Day. Were you celebrated properly, Hogue? Did you get everything you deserved?
When did you turn into Dr. Seuss?
Well, I actually think my landing spot in media is going to be children's novelist something audio person. I think I should
talk about sex way too much for that to be.
That's true.
Right.
It's very different topics.
Two different personalities.
You can join Martellus Bennett. He does a lot of kid stuff.
If Martellus Bennett can kill people on the football field, I can be a kids guy at some point too.
Okay. Well, I thought it was a great weekend. Had my wedding anniversary, Father's Day. Love everyone was a part of that. Hung out with Carm's peeps on Friday. That was cool too. Nick had a great weekend.
I did.
And Steven's back from getting sick from Nick.
Yeah, probably.
So
yeah, Nick, I'm mad at you. We're fighting, man.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I feel better. I think, we're all happy on this Monday.
Sick this time of year?
Dude, New Orleans, man.
Oh, yeah.
Bachelor
I didn't
party.
even tell you guys, like, my voice being messed up isn't from an illness. My dad started a kitchen fire.
Oh.
Everything's fine, but a lot of smoke inhalation.
Your voice is messed up because your dad started a kitchen fire? Did I hear that right?
He fell asleep while he was making bacon.
Charlie the Bacon Guy?
Your dad fell asleep making Charlie the Bacon Guy's Amazing Bacon softball team 3-0. APB, we need a female to play tonight. I reached out directly to Crystal. She hasn't responded. We need a female to play tonight.
Okay. So there's an important learn. Now that I have to say, that is an all-time dad move on Father's Day, is to start a kitchen fire while falling asleep.
And you can't get mad. Like, it's Father's Day, too, right?
That's like the perfect way to celebrate Father's Day.
Art just retired, and he's been watching TV and falling asleep a lot. So that's what's going on.
I didn't get my golf nap in yesterday. The golf was too good. But anyway, we're here. We're ready to talk Bears. Also spent part of the weekend watching the Roku documentary on the NFL draft, which featured the Bears as one of the, 4 teams that were on there. And so there's some things we wanted to bring to the table that we learned in the documentary. So we got that coming for you on the show today. And then we'll save some of the nonsense for later in the show, as we often do on Mondays. We have some off-topic things to hit for sure. But hope everybody had a great weekend. And anyone else got anything before we dive in? Just want to make sure.
I got 7,000 snidbits for the show, but you should dive in first.
The snidbits. Snidbits. Okay. So if you hadn't had a chance to find this, because it's not the best promoted piece of NFL content in the world, but it does exist. But Roku, I didn't even know they did this last year. So this is the second one they've done.
Very true.
Yeah. Roku has a 90-minute documentary on the NFL draft weekend, following, in this case, it was the Bears, the Commanders, the Cardinals, and the Rams. Get all the teams?
Yep.
And it's super interesting because you kind of get in the behind-the-scenes conversations, the calls back and forth between teams. A lot of access you don't usually get to experience with the draft. So it is cool. And now, I will say, with the Bears stuff, 90% of it we had already seen because it was in 1920 Football Drive and what they had already put out. There were a couple new things that we're going to discuss. And in terms of how you find this, if you haven't had a chance to find it, so if you have Roku, I think you can just find it on like Roku TV or whatever. If you don't have a Roku, just go to therokuchannel.com, and it's called The Pick Is In. You can just watch it on your computer or whatever. It's not too hard to find. You don't need an account, and it is interesting. So the first thing I want to hit on that I think we need to discuss is what was sort of happening leading up to the Bears drafting Rome Odunze. So you get all your Caleb Williams stuff, which we kind of already have seen and known about. Really not a ton new there. But they really wanted Rome. Mm-hmm. We know that. It's very evident. Everything in the documentary supports that. A lot of times in the draft, you hear teams be like, oh, we wanted this guy all along. And really, look at the Rams part of the documentary. They missed out on like their first 5 guys.
Brock Powers, Byron Murphy, and then
everybody kept
Jared
getting drafted. They're happy to get Jared Verse, but that wasn't their top guy. And so these press conferences were like, oh, we wanted this guy all along. Okay. He was like 12th on your list. In the Bears case, though, I think with other than the exception of Marvin Harrison Jr., who my understanding is they did have ahead of Rome Odunze, but they knew they weren't going to get him.
Wasn't going to be realistic.
That's when you hit the part that we saw. I think we saw it on 1920 Football Drive where Ian Cunningham's like, we got our number 1 and number 2 guy. Like, sort of an asterisk on that. But in terms of what they wanted, how they wanted things to play out, that was really their ideal situation. But the Falcons are on the clock at 8. And we've already talked about this Falcons pick a lot. We talked about it in the moment on draft night. This was the pick on draft night that we're going to be talking about this for years. And I think we even brought up the Trubisky pick / trade in the moment when this happened because it felt very similar, right?
Weird.
So the Bears were at 9. Falcons are sitting there at 8 on the clock. Poles is getting antsy, clearly wants to make sure they can get Rome. They call Terry Fontenot in Atlanta and basically try to make the opposite of the trade they made last year with the Eagles.
Yep.
In fact, Poles even says we made this trade with the Eagles last year, which is
that 4th.
We'll give you a 4th-round pick to move up 1 spot. Future 4th, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
2025.
What's that?
It's a 2025 4th.
2025 4th. So it's the same thing as last year was a future 4th-round pick. And Ian Cunningham's like, and Poles referenced this in his press conference that night, like Ian was trying to talk me out of it. And Ian is there in the moment saying like, you sure we got to do this? Like, you really think we need to? And at the end of the day, the Falcons didn't want to do it anyway.
They're like, nah.
Yeah. Before we get to that part of it, because I think there's 2 separate discussions here. The Falcons part of it we will discuss. But I just find that moment very interesting because it's like even though they kind of know they don't need to do it, it comes back to leave no doubt, is it worth giving up a future 4th rounder just to make sure you get this guy that you think is going to be really, really good for you for a really, really long time?
Which is a whole lot different than going back to the Trubisky thing, giving up 3 picks to move up 1 spot and then drafting the guy whose numbers weren't remotely close to the other 2 quarterbacks in the draft.
But, and I apologize because I know I've already done a lot of talking, I don't think it's that different because I've said this a million times and I'll say it a million times more. If the scouting was correct, nobody would care about those picks. You got your generational quarterback. It wouldn't matter.
In their eyes, yeah.
The problem was not the trade. The problem was that they drafted the wrong quarterback. If they had made that same trade for Patrick Mahomes, it's the greatest trade of all time. Even if it was unnecessary, even if it was completely unnecessary.
That's fine. You're right. But that wouldn't, just because people wouldn't say it was terrible or that it would be celebrated, wouldn't mean anything different that you could have just sat there and done the pick.
Right.
So, yes, the way it would be perceived if they had drafted Patrick Mahomes, it would have gone down that way. But the fact of the matter is they could have gotten him at 3. And the fact of the matter, this was just amazing to me. First of all, to the Bears part of it, Poles, I'm not sure yet if I like that he's asking Ian or not like that he's asking Ian? Should we call Terry? It's like real muted. Should we call Terry? I don't know, man. You're the GM. Do you want to call Terry? Like, I get the collaboration. I appreciate the collaboration.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it should be.
Right.
You
Which
need
is
to
fine.
have some checks and balances.
But like,
I think the video proved that you need it.
Yeah.
Well, sure. But I also would like. There's part of me that would have just been like, I'm calling Terry to see if what did it. And then like maybe then, Ian comes in like, don't put that phone down. You don't need to do that. Like, it's totally fine. I just think it's just interesting how it went down. Do you think we should call Terry? So he's really like he is leaning on Ian a ton, which is they're cool that they have that level of partnership. Then the other part is Atlanta.
No, let's save that part.
Okay.
Let's save that
Okay,
part. That's an entirely different discussion.
I'll save that part.
Yeah,
But we're going to get to it.
I think for the Bears on their side of things, it's like if something would have happened before at that 8th pick and Ryan didn't call, they would have beat themselves up for it if someone was moving up to get Rome, right? So at least they called and got, the Falcons said, nah, we're going to go in a different direction. So I could see that part of it. But I think it's really good that you have a guy like Ian. That's why he's there as the assistant general manager. That position was not there for the Bears, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
In that moment, right then and there, it kind of shows when you have another high-level guy in there, you can kind of, again, get the right perspective on a very high situational moment.
Now, I want to be completely clear. The Falcons didn't want to do the trade.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know if they wanted to do it, if Cunningham would have completely talked Poles out of it.
True.
But he definitely was at least pushing back and whether or not they needed to do it. Now, let me bring up this hypothetical, getting back to what we were just sort of talking about a moment ago.
I got one side point before you move on to the Atlanta thing.
Hypothetical.
No, this is not in Atlanta.
Okay.
This is the hypothetical is the Bears did make the trade to move up
Right.
to 8.
Would have been
And
celebrated.
this documentary shows that they didn't need to do it.
Right.
How are we talking? Like, do we care that much?
It's a 4th round, future 4th.
I think we're defending it. I think we're still
Yeah.
defending it. Even if it came out like they have footage in Atlanta of them being like, we might as well do this. I mean, why not just take this 4th round pick? And that would have shown that the Bears didn't need to do it. But the fans would be so excited about Rome Odunze, and they got their guy, and it was worth the little tax to get their guy. I think everybody would be celebrating it.
I'll tell you exactly how that would go if that's what it was. You would say it doesn't matter as long as Rome Odunze is good.
Yes.
That's exactly what you'd say. Greg Braggs would have said, I wish they would have traded the 4th, the 6th, and the 8th and next year's first because I love Rome Odunze. That would have been totally fine. You would basically agree with Hoge if Rome was good, and I would be sitting here saying, like, it sucks that they gave up a 4th round pick. That's basically how that conversation would go. It's totally fine. It's whatever. It's not a huge deal, but it sucks that they gave up a 4th round pick. Me and you, Total Anarchy TV. It's amazing. Me and Total Anarchy. Sometimes we're together, sometimes we're not. It's like a perfect marriage.
Gary's saying that future 4th was used for Booker. So
Right.
it wasn't future 2025.
No, it was future 2025. They ended up trading that
course,
future
yes,
2025 for Booker later. So that is, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
100% fair. Like,
Yes.
And we wouldn't
you
have
would
known
not
that.
have Austin Booker. He would not have been sitting here last week in our studio.
That would have sucked.
Yeah.
Because we.
What would we have done that show?
Go check out that interview if you missed it.
Good one. It was a bonding situation.
30 minutes with Austin Booker.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
On time.
For those asking about Braggs, first of all, why are you asking about Braggs? Second, he is back. If you somehow missed him shirtless in the bleachers Friday at Wrigley while Cody Delmendo is not catching a home run ball, we could have that discussion later, actually.
I did not.
You better be wearing
all this.
your Shady Rays
Yep.
if you are going to check out Braggs' video from Friday. That dude was flat out shining. It was amazing.
Well, he was in Florida for a week.
He's also got a shaved head now, too.
The point of me bringing Braggs up is that he is back. He will have After Dark tonight. So
He looks like a slimmed down Braggs. I feel like he's lost a couple, shekels off the old waistline there.
Yes.
He has, hasn't he?
Yeah, let's go.
he always does. He's trying to get back into training camp.
Not
shape.
me. This thing's expanding.
So
People calling out my shirt size is too small.
Big arms. Let's go.
That's right.
that's messed up. Man,
Sorry, Hogue. Back to you.
yeah. Why don't we? Okay, I do want to have the Falcons side of this too, but first let's tell our friends about our sponsors here. As I try to remember which one we're supposed to do here. Oh, yeah. Just look at the shirt I'm wearing.
Breaking news, Hoge, before you do that, I'm sorry. Crystal is in. She will be making her CHGO softball debut tonight. Apparently has never played softball before, but we're going to get her up to speed.
She'll be better than me.
She's gonna bat right behind you in the lineup. 12-13. Let's go.
Good choice.
How many females do you have to have in the lineup?
Gotta have 3.
Gotta have 3.
And we lost Sarah because she's got to produce Cubs tonight, and Stephanie is out because she's doing something very important. So Crystal is in.
Okay.
Very excited.
Now we find out how good of a coach you actually are. See how
right
you coach her up. I want
you will.
to report back tomorrow. In the meantime, I hope you guys bring along some Miller Lights.
We
Be
absolutely
ready to go for the game. Sometimes things need to change, but one thing that does not need to change, the great taste of Miller Lite. The original light beer, and to this day, it's still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want and less of the stuff you don't. Enjoyed some Miller Lights over the weekend. How could you not? Weather's beautiful.
Amazing.
Enjoyed Father's Day with some golf and Miller Lite. What was better than that? Miller Lite, for all of those occasions, just makes things better because Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like beer. Less filling and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. No matter how your team changes, you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. That's right, I said you can get it delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/CHGO Football. It's MillerLite.com/CHGO Football, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces.
$20 super chat from Seth Crane for Greg Braggs. Here's so Braggs can go back to a barber. That's amazing. Wow. That's an awful nice, generous donation from Seth so we could get Braggs looking clean. And I would do a cut and a shave. The guy looks disgusting, but hopefully he'll clean up for Braggs After Dark tonight. And hopefully he'll clean up for London because we are going, and you can come with via True Fan Travel. It's your passport to the world of sports. You know it. You love it. October 9th to the 15th, we're going to fly you to London. We're going to put you in a 4 to 5 star hotel accommodation. We're going to have a welcome event at our favorite London pub. We're going to have a private boat cruise on the river.
Tim's.
Damn straight. I love River Tim's. There's an all-inclusive tailgate party that's going to be right by the stadium. We're putting you in a nice upper-level seat to the game. We're transporting you from the airport to and from. We're on-site coordinating you with a team of coordinators, damn it, led by Greg Braggs, under the tutelage of Kevin Kadick and Jake Flanagan and Carman and Hoge and Nick and everybody. There's going to be breakfast at the hotel every morning. I'll be down there at 6 a.m. having tea and crumpets. And,
Crumpets.
Yeah, we're having a meet and greet, too, all the things. This is what you got to do. Go to truefantravel.com. Make your deposit, secure your spot, come with us to London. Packages from all, wherever you're flying from or not flying from, whether you're staying in a hotel or not staying in a hotel. There's a lot of ways to do this. So just get that deposit in. Come with us to London. Bears will be undefeated or defeated. One of the two, I promise you. But either way, it's going to be a ton of fun. truefantravel.com.
By the way, a little bit of news on Hard Knocks.
Newsy news.
But the non-Bears Hard Knocks version, kind of already knew this, that a whole division was going to be featured this year in season, and that is going to be the AFC North.
Oh.
So you're going to get little bits of the Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and Steelers starting December 3rd. And I think the in-season stuff's been a little hit or miss. Last year's, though, with the Dolphins was very, very good, and I enjoyed it. So just a little bit of quick Hard Knocks news.
Justin Fields. Hopefully we'll see what happens there. Some in-season stuff.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
And I got to say, I was sleeping on the Dolphins Hard Knocks, but I started watching it over the weekend. Very entertaining.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good.
Very entertaining.
Very good. All right, so the other side of this near trade. So, again, just recap. Bears wanted Roma Dunze. Falcons were on the clock, one pick away. Poles wants to call Terry Fontenot and say, hey, we'll give you a future fourth. We did the same trade with the Eagles last year. Falcons say no. That solves that. Didn't need to do it. Bears take Rome at 9 anyway. Why in the world would the Falcons not make that trade? What?
Okay.
It's, just to be clear, this would be the equivalent of the Bears not making the trade they made the year before with the Eagles, which was, we're not going to take Jalen Carter. You can have him, Philly. We'll just move back one spot, pick up a future fourth. Like, why would you not do that?
Get Darnell right, yeah. I don't understand it. Like, what's the downside of that for the Falcons? Like, what did they think it was? Or
they had to be the only way. If you're set on taking Michael Penix Jr., you're worried the Bears are going to take Michael Penix Jr. right after drafting Caleb Williams?
I don't understand it.
So, I think I know why the Falcons didn't do it. And it's the most frightening reason ever, but it's the only thing that I could surmise. Ian Rappaport knew that the Falcons were interested in Michael Penix. There was on the thing, the documentary that we're talking about, a month earlier, he talked about their interest from the owner, Arthur Blank, in adding a developmental quarterback behind Kirk Cousins. And I literally think that Terry Fontenot was so damn afraid that if anything went wrong, if the half of a tenth of 1% that he was going to lose his job if they didn't get him the Michael Penix that he wanted. So out of that little bit of fear, which was a huge actual fear, they didn't make that trade. Is how I'm surmising that's why it didn't go down. What I'm also saying on the other side of this is, hey Terry, give him a counter proposal. You give us a third, we'll go back a spot. Give us a second, we'll go back a spot. Anything. Like Poles off, matter of fact, that's just for a fourth. That's what we did last year. A third round pick, we'll do it. He might have done it. It's not completely off the board. They wouldn't have given up their Karan Amagaji where's your counter, dude?
I mean, what are the Bears going to do? Trade up to 8 and then trade with a different team to go back?
So that's what I'm saying. Like
They're
a double
clearly
trade.
trading up because they want somebody that badly to go make sure that they get him. They're making the same trade on the other end.
Exactly.
There's absolutely no logic to that whatsoever.
I don't. I'd like double trade. Like, again, if the Bears are moving up a spot, and we've talked about this wide receiver class forever now. There's one guy still left there. And we know how much they've liked Rome for a long time. It's been pretty public. So it's like,
well, that's the other part of it too. From the Bears side, it's like, dude, if Ian Rappaport knows that they're that interested in Michael Penix, then the Bears should know that too. They should have been pretty damn calm. They ain't taking Rome, but they weren't calm about it.
Well, I kind of get that part of it.
I get that more than anything else on the Atlanta side for sure.
I mean, but Atlanta's got to know the Bears aren't taking them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you're watching some of these other GMs and head coaches in this documentary. Like Sean McVay's like, oh, they're gonna get. They were calling out a whole bunch of like players just going to specific teams. Like they do their homework too, and it's like if you're the Falcons, you're making this trade knowing that you should know that hey, the Bears are looking probably for a playmaker to add to their number 1 overall pick quarterback, their rookie quarterback. But I don't know. It just seems so odd that. It seemed like almost like a quick conversation, too. It didn't seem like it was very, again, based off documentary, but they didn't want to entertain it. Lose out on the fourth.
The comments come in here. John Clark, the Falcons were worried the Bears would flip the pick to someone else that wanted a quarterback. That would be even more incompetence that the Falcons wouldn't be able to do that on their own. And then the other one, I think Robert Lee actually nailed it. Like, just straight brain fart. Like, just they were in the moment nerves or something that just didn't allow them to think clearly. Would make more sense to me than most anything at this point. That was if I'm Arthur Blank and I'm watching that whole thing go down, I'm looking in the mirror of how I might have impacted that, and also like I'm also wondering about my GM.
Also, are we like I'm seeing Gary's comment? Vikings could have offered Bears 11-24 for 8. Like, how often are we seeing? I mean, I think we've seen a little bit more where you're trading within the division, but is Ryan, are they willing to do these kind of things?
But so the part of that, though, is then the Falcons would already know that because the Vikings would have called the Falcons and offered that.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And also, if the Vikings wanted Penix and didn't want McCarthy, you should have known that Minnesota wants McCarthy, and you could comfortably make that trade. I would
right.
think.
That's my thing. Like,
yeah.
so no matter how you try to justify this, first of all, if Minnesota did call Atlanta and offer that, they should have fucking taken that trade.
Yeah.
Because they could have had Penix at 11.
Right. And then you have another first-round pick. Like you were overdrafting Michael Penix.
Yes.
No one was
You have
taking
Kirk
him
Cousins.
there. It's totally cool to think that Penix is better than McCarthy.
that's
I
fine.
would probably bet that. But it's not cool when you do a Bill Belichick and just like, I like this guy here, period. I'm not going to think about anything else. This is my guy. I'm going to take him. No. Get
That was
your
wild.
value, dude.
That's wild. Crazy how the NFL works sometimes.
And by the way, shout out to Bill Belichick. Jesus.
Was he dating like a 24-year-old, 27-year-old, something like that?
Bill
Former cheerleader.
Belichick, the most boring guy of all time, is reeling in 24-year-olds. That's wild.
Oh, I missed this. What happened?
He's dating like a 24-year-old.
She was a cheerleader
72.
for the team, I
Like,
think.
it's like a serious relationship, too. It's just completely wild.
That dude, like, coming-
if you guys saw the video of him leaving that person's house at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
whose
yeah.
house he was leaving.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine that.
How did that get out then? Because wasn't that off like a Ring camera? Yeah. Wouldn't it be her Ring camera?
Well,
How does...
Maybe
That's
she
true.
wants it out there. They
don't
started
think she-
talking about he was showing up at like some of her events and different things.
Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, look who I got coming home tonight.
Gronk,
Bill Belichick.
I missed the joke, but Gronk apparently made a take on the
We referenced
on
the
Bra-
video.
on the Brady.
Yeah, it was in there.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick. As you say, you dog, you.
I mean,
Oh, my God.
It's okay. I was unaware of this.
yeah, that was bizarre.
Good for him. The
Crazy.
the other thing I know Nick wanted to bring up was after they don't make this trade. Well, he said while this is all going on, they do discuss the possibility of if Rome gets traded or gets drafted, then the Bears were prepared to move back. Mm-hmm. And then that's
That
when
was
they,
interesting.
Then
Yeah.
they reference this whole research project that, boy,
The three groups.
they're in love with their research project
They
they
love
did.
them.
Good for them.
Did a good job.
It's just funny. And they actually had like a graphic. Nick, take it away on it.
Yeah, so they had the graphic about the three groups that they split their staff into. And one of the groups was tasked with the wide receivers, the other group tasked with researching the defensive linemen, and then the other group was with the offensive linemen. And then if you watch the documentary, they put the graphic of some of the players available, the top players of that position. Wide receiver, you obviously have Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Brian Thomas Jr. Defensive lineman, you have Leatu Latu, Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse. Then the offensive lineman on the graphic, they had Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, Fuaga, and then J.C. Latham. But I think it would be just like kind of an interesting conversation, you guys. What if Rome wasn't there? Someone moved up, Falcons made a trade, something happened there. Maybe they even took Rome at 8. Out of those guys, and of course, Harrison's already off the board, Neighbors is off the board. You don't have, and I put it in our notion, you wouldn't have Latham available or Joe Alt available. So you would still have Brian Thomas Jr. is the one guy in the graphic for the wide receivers, Leatu Latu, Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Vashanu, and Fuaga. Curious, like, how would the Bears have played that?
So the lowest of those that got selected was Dallas Turner. Is that right? Was there anybody that went?
You mean lowest? You mean the
who
last?
went- yeah, last. Who went the last? in the-
Latu went first of the defensive guys, then Byron Murphy.
Vashanu was at 11 to the New York Jets.
Then Turner went before Verse.
So they could have
Yeah.
had Verse at 19. So they could have made a trade in theory with the Rams, who wanted to move up, by the way.
Yeah, the Rams.
The
trying
Rams
to
were
move
looking to
up.
move up, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could have.
They would have got their guy Brock Bowers at that point, right? Because
So,
Bowers
so based on what we learned in this documentary, there's a world in which Bears don't get Rome. They could trade back as far as 19 to the Rams, who would then go up and get Bowers. Because they were trying to get up to the Jets
the Jets at 11.
at
yeah.
10.
This is
Yeah,
just
10.
based on
10.
strict hindsight. Like, if the Bears knew that the draft was going to go this way and they didn't have Rome, then they would have probably traded back, I would assume, to 19 and gotten all the value they could have gotten from the Rams who wanted Bowers, and then they would have had that, whatever picks would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think there would have been a bunch of trades possibly on the table. I think the Vikings would have been calling to get to 9.
Get McCarthy.
They already moved up to get to. They got McCarthy at 10 anyway.
So, but here, let's just make the argument. Let's just make the discussion, not even the argument. You can have Jared Verse, and what do you think the Rams would have given up? A first next year and a fourth?
I already know what you're gonna say. Rome Odunze.
Yeah. Okay, so you would say you take Odunze.
I would keep. Yeah, I'd go Rome.
I'd go Rome too. Yeah. How much we're weighing like the Caleb Rome connection, having them grow together, like that. I think that's why Poles wanted.
I'm not sure they would have been offered at first anyway. Didn't they put the trade proposal for the Jets up there, and it was like a second round pick?
They did. I did not.
It like wasn't enough.
Did not put him in those.
So
bad job.
Yeah. I mean,
I get.
I just think it's an interesting exercise.
So yeah, I mean, an extra first round pick next year in Jared Verse versus just keeping Rome Odunze. I'm good with Rome.
I think they would have almost stayed with offense, though. People are putting Fashanu, Caleb's former teammate in high school, and still.
Yeah, but he's saying if you go all the way back to 19.
Oh, all the way back, yeah.
And you had to pick who was left.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of those offensive guys would have.
Yeah, they're all gone by 19.
I'm saying you go as far back as you possibly can to get the very most value, to still get a guy that you like. If the Bears knew exactly how the draft was going to go, and they could go back to 19 and get Verse, I wonder what they would have, what if anything they would have been willing to take to do that. That would be an interesting question that you will never know the answer to.
Yeah. All right, one more thing we got to discuss too on the Bears side of things that we learned that was not previously seen, and I do think says a lot about the organization right now and how they're handling things in a good way. Before we get to that, though, make sure you go check out our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary because they are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit, and they got you covered all over the city as well. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or Florical. Might want to just go over there and check out Remedy, the well-minded cannabis delivered in easy forms and precise doses. You can find Remedy tinctures, capsules, and RSO at a Sunnyside dispensary near you. You can also get all this stuff online by heading to sunnyside.shop. Use code HICHGO at checkout for 35% off. Brands like Cresco, Good News, and more to elevate your first purchase. Again, that's code HICHGO. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Check out Sunnyside, and then I want everybody to go check out Circa. One of the reasons why they have these tight money line splits and low hold models. Games will strive to be at a minus 110 split on the Circa Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use a minus 115 or even minus 120 splits. And Circa Sports keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to some of those other books, and they have high app limits and transparency. Circa Sports does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. And we encourage bettors to download and explore all those other sports betting apps available. Compare the lines from each sports book. You will see for yourself. And, of course, Circa, they have the best customer service. They're real people behind the Circa Sports brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use those chat bots. And all aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main Circa Sports book at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. And they're also with us on all the Cubs Friday 120 clubs. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537. Text GAMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com.
Alrighty. Right at the end of this Roku doc,
Roku.
There's one little nugget in there because it kind of all goes in order. And, of course, the Bears' last pick, the last pick was Austin Booker, which they didn't really show that part. But Tory Taylor gets drafted, and as they're making the pick, but before it actually goes public, Richard Hightower basically comes to the front of the room by polls and was like, how do you want me to handle this with Trenton Gill? Because, like, he's saying as a coach, like, he wanted to be the one to tell him, like, what was going on, give him a heads up so he's not just seeing it on Twitter like everybody else. So mad respect to Hightower for wanting to handle it that way.
Big time.
I couldn't quite tell if it was actually catching polls off guard, just like maybe a little bit, or maybe just wasn't top of mind because they're so excited about getting Tory Taylor. Maybe it was. That part was kind of hard to tell. But so you got I think, high respect for Hightower for how he wants to handle in that situation. And then polls, too. I mean, they're having it back and forth on what's the best way to do it because Hightower's like, I can tell him that you still have a chance to compete, like, whatever. And then polls, to his credit, like, so I feel like we have so many moments with Ryan Poles since he's become the GM where, like, what we all talk about and think about with, like, common sense, like, just comes out of his mouth. And he was straight up like, you draft a punter in the 4th round. Like, there's not a competition. So that would be disingenuous for us to say that. And that's not a direct quote, but that's paraphrasing what he said. And so they decided on the messaging, basically, like, we will do right by you because you've done right for us. Whether that's a trade, and they probably did look into a trade, which is why I'm assuming he wasn't released like right away. Whether that's giving him an opportunity to prove himself in camp and then get traded, or just an outright release. And that's ultimately the way it went. What was your reaction to that whole scene?
I actually didn't get a chance to watch it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so hearing this, it was
amazing.
Yeah.
I got you.
I got a lot into that documentary, but not quite that far.
So here was first of all, to the start of it, and I'm seeing it in the chat, and you're nailing it, Hoge. Richard Hightower is a kingpin because he's thinking about his dudes, and this is a dude that's not going to be his dude, and he's still thinking about his future and where he's going to go. And I think there's a ton of respect for what Trenton Gill did, and we've talked to Trenton. Great guy, super professional. Credit to the Bears in the locker room. Just didn't have a great year last year, and you're talking about somebody that Poles talked about. I've never seen a kicker be able to place the football like Tory Taylor, so that's why they wanted him. I thought that, but I just really appreciated Hightower going up. And it also shows that there is a certain level, a certain way in which Poles carries himself, that Hightower is not intimidated in the middle of the draft, or not too intimidated to feel like I can't go up to him and say something to him right now. It shows to me that Poles is somebody that you can approach, and even in a moment like that, have a conversation with, a fairly challenging conversation. So I loved all of that. And then Poles is honest to your thing, like, ain't no competition. And I also like that he was going down all the ways in which they could help Trenton. We'll release you. Well, you want to stick around here to punt? Like, I thought that was great. And it sort of speaks to exactly what they did with Justin, trying to take care of him. Where's the best place you can go? Yeah. Well, let's send you to Pittsburgh, which has a great head coach and a great organization and an opportunity to start. And yes, we'll probably take less, but let's see if we can get something on the backside for ourselves. Like, if you do play, we'll get a 4th round pick instead of a 6th. So there's just, as far as, like, I think the way Poles should be received by players around the league, you would think that if they are paying attention, there's some respect for the Bears general manager.
Yeah, doing right by the players, and regardless if it was your starting quarterback last year, Justin Fields, or your punter, like, probably the most opposite end of the maybe importance when you look at sometimes a roster, but it's still the same standard is being held for both those types of players, which I think if you are a player around the league at this point, and there's a lot of hype around this Bears team, where they're going, where they potentially can go, like, you see how the front office handles their players. I think that stands out to organizations on how they treat guys.
And, like, I think it's important. Look, this is just the start of shows like this, quite frankly, because the Hard Knocks is coming up, and we're going to be doing a lot of these shows where we're going to be reacting to what we're seeing and kind of breaking it down. And it's always important to keep in context that these are edited pieces, heavily edited pieces, and teams do have oversight over what actually airs to a point, but still, I think we can make the conclusion off some of these things that we've seen come out, whether it's the 1920 stuff, whether it's, this documentary. What do the Bears have to hide? Like, I think they're in a good spot to be on Hard Knocks this year. It's obvious they don't really want to do it, but I do like their approach since it's come out that they have to do it, which is let's just embrace it.
Make the most
Let's not push back. Let's embrace it, because the opposite is when you push back and it's kind of evident you don't want to be there. Like, I didn't think Robert Saleh had some good moments last year. He had some bad moments with Hard Knocks. I didn't think the whole Jets thing was a real win in general for the Jets. It was kind of like an Aaron Rodgers PR piece, a lot of it.
True, yeah.
So I just think that the Bears have shown, at least in this documentary and some of the other things we've seen, that there are moments like that. Like, that was a genuine moment. That wasn't an edited thing. That wasn't like trying to play to the cameras.
Yep.
That was a very genuine, important moment that I think reflected very well on the organization.
Agreed. And you got me down the road of, like, what are they afraid of? And maybe, I'm sure everyone's afraid of having whatever, their dirty laundry out there, even though I'm sure they're a lot less afraid knowing how heavily edited these things are. I would just say this in my piece of advice to the Bears that they're not going to necessarily listen to. When you overpromise and underdeliver in life, that sucks. And right now, the head of the operations, who I still believe is going to deliver. Kevin Warren, I think you're going to get the stadium that you want to get, be it in 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28, whenever it happens. I still think somehow that's going to happen. But there was one part of that video where they're showing Warren with polls, and he's like, this is just an absolutely perfect day. It's a perfect day. It's a perfect day. We're not going to know if Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams for, I don't know, at least a good year, maybe longer. We're not going to know if Roma Doomsday is that. It's just
I'm going to call you out right now.
Yeah?
Mr. Hypocritical.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
What the hell were we saying that night?
Did I
It's
call
a
it
perfect draft? I don't know if you did. Greg certainly did. But all he was saying was that it felt perfectly how they wanted. Not putting them in the Hall of Fame yet.
The Rams are saying the same thing about Verse and Fisk. Perfect day if we get both of those guys.
And that was like their seventh and eighth options.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hold.
And they're like, oh, this is perfect.
I see LeBron D. Wade in your notes there, Mark.
All right. Yes. I got the LeBron D. Wade was when Caleb meets up with Rome. He's like, we're LeBron and D. Wade. I'm like, you're Jordan and Pippen. Enough with this LeBron and D. Wade stuff. Come on, Caleb. Let's go back a generation. That's who you are. Thank you very much. That's why I put that in my notes. But Flu said did the same oversell, dude. He said, this is a game changer. This is a game changer. That's not. Well, we're going to win a lot of championships together, Kevin Warren.
They all say that.
Dude.
The interaction with J.J. McCarthy, or I can't remember which one it was at this point, where it's like, what did you promise me that we're going to work hard and win a lot of games or whatever it was? Like, they all say that.
What if he said we're going to win a lot of noon games?
How about we're going to win a lot of games? Listen, I'm nitpicking. Everybody can yell at me. That's fine. You go as far down the pushback on road that you want to go here. But you know what I think when I hear we're going to win a lot of championships together? I think of Rick Hahn. We're not just going to win one, we're going to win multiple. No, you're going to win none, and you're going to get fired. All right? It is hard to win a Super Bowl. You haven't done it since 85. Just dial it down just a drop. Caleb,
those are different situations.
Is it? The Bears cannot sit there and say we're going to win a ton of championships together until you end the damn ass drought. How's this? Caleb, we are so excited to have you. We're going to win a lot of games. We love that you're here. Done. We're going to win a lot of. It's a little arrogant for me, man. You haven't done shit. We're 3 wins, 7 wins. Just chill it out a little bit.
You're right. That should have been the message. We haven't won shit.
But
welcome to Chicago.
Wait, why can't you just say we're going to win a lot of games together? We're going to win a ton of championships. Dude, I'll take one. Just give me one. Give me one so I can see Greg Braggs take his clothes off on this show. And that's all I want. Just get one Super Bowl.
Okay,
and there it is.
1 second.
You let Carm talk long enough, he makes it really weird.
But remember when Caleb was saying he wanted to go to an organization that was all about winning? Don't you think he wants to hear that? He has the freaking 8 Super Bowls on his screensaver. Yeah. Like, you don't want to hear him say we're just going to win games.
For the 8 Super Bowl thing?
Like, we were talking about that
goals.
too.
I appreciate a personal goal. That's awesome that he wants to do that. I mean,
it's a team
it's
game.
Crazy, but it's awesome. That is an individual goal.
I want you to make a personal goal
to
never reference Greg Braggs not wearing clothes on this show.
Done. I completely agree. I'll never do it again.
There's a personal goal for you.
No more.
Why are all tennis players unhinged?
That's a good point. What's going on there? So here's another. Well, I got another Carm item for you. I'm surprised you didn't bring this one up. Didn't you push back the idea of Kevin Warren sitting in the front row?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, did you happen to notice that all of the teams, you had Michael Bidwell?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, all over their draft room and involved in everything, and they had some DJ from LA they brought into their after party. You had Josh Harris, the new, whatever his title, he's like the main owner of the Commanders now. He was on the phone with Jaden Daniels. And then you had, which one am I missing now? With the Rams. Kevin Demoff didn't quite have the same, he wasn't like in the phone calls or anything, but he was sitting there the whole damn time, and he's their vice president in LA. So I'm just saying, relatively normal to have that going on in the draft room.
Okay.
Which brings me to the Rams.
Did they make the phone calls to the players?
No, they were all on the phone.
Okay.
Except I don't think they showed Kevin in LA on the phone, unless I missed that part.
Okay.
I'm just saying. There's a little bit. I thought the documentary showed that's a little bit more normal than maybe we thought.
Okay, fair enough.
Might still be weird, but I think it's relatively normal. Okay, the Rams, and they've been doing this for a few years now, where they have Rams Draft House. They literally rent a house, so they leave their facility, and they have like a house for the weekend, and they're like set up in this like beach house. It's like sunny, and it looks like
luxurious.
Two buddies drafting their fantasy football team. Even how they interact with each other.
Yeah. McVay and Snead are...
Les Snead and Sean McVay, they're just like bantering back and forth. At one point, McVay makes fun of Snead because Les is like, are the Bengals on the clock right now? And he's like, yeah, it's right in front of you.
Carm Hoge interaction. Right
yeah, but that's what I mean. It is. It's like two buddies just sitting there in a beach house drafting their fantasy football team, and they're like freaking. McVay's walking around like an anxious puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like, what can we do here? Do you think we can move up here? He's like, yeah, we're gonna look into the Snead. It's like, I love those interactions though. It's like so.
At one point, he's like, let's not do anything reckless, and then like you could tell Les gets offended for a second. He's like, well, reckless isn't in my DNA. And then he's like, but aggressively smart is.
Yeah.
He like learned to say the right thing. Mm-hmm. And I just, that whole thing was fascinating. It's so different from, let's just look at the Bears. The Bears are in their dark draft room. Everyone's in suits and It just seems like a way more stressful environment.
Yeah, see, very relaxed LA kind of vibes, right? But
Button up Bears.
they've won a Super Bowl.
I'm not criticizing the Bears. The Bears have a really nice draft room. Nick, you've seen it. They put a lot of money into it when they renovated House Hall. If I'm a GM, you know me and how
They have
erotic I
everything
can
you
be.
need.
I would want my screens, my things, my boards. I wouldn't want to move to some beach house and be, do this
Different space,
in
yeah.
a living room.
I feel comfortable.
I mean, I'd love to be it. So you're telling me if you could pick one of your two setups, you'd pick the Bears over the Rams?
If the Bears was my normal setup, everyday setup, I think I'd want to be in that place on the most important day.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I want to. I would.
But the
I'd
other
feel
one's
more
badass.
comfortable.
Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, no, the other one's way
badass.
cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just looking at the Rams last year. First of all, the Rams haven't had just to speak about how they do things over there. They won a Super Bowl trading for Stafford. Congratulations, Odell, whoever else. Super aggressive with draft picks. Haven't had a first-round pick since 2016 when they took Jared Goff 1 overall. Last year, and we were talking about this before the show, their first pick was Steve Avila, the center, in the second round. Played all 17 games. Their next pick, 77 overall, Byron Young, played all 17 games. Their third pick, Kobe Turner, was a defensive tackle, played all 17 games. They took a punter in the 7th round who averaged nearly 50 yards a punt from last year. Puka Nacua was their 5th round pick, one of the best wide receivers in the game last year with 1,486 yards. That's insane. They had another 5th round pick, play 10 games in outside linebacker Nick Hampton. They're doing something right over there. However they're doing it.
Yeah.
And they're picking from all over, by the way. They got Appalachian State, they've got Nebraska, they got Mississippi. They're taking small schools, big schools, the whole thing.
2 guys from Florida State.
Yep.
And then this year they it's been pretty impressive.
That was another cool moment, by the way.
Back to back.
They had Jared Verse showing up to the draft house as they were drafting Braden Fisk at the same exact time. They were trying to time it up so that Verse could actually be the one who makes the phone call
so cool.
to his Florida State teammate. And LA traffic got in the way, so he didn't quite get there in time. But then he got there before the phone call was over, so he was able to jump on the phone. And the two of them got emotional talking to each other about how excited they were to play with each other. Like, they literally both broke down. That was a really cool moment.
Well, they played next to each other a ton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Running stunts and they know each other. Like, I love that for the Rams.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be watching those two because those are 2 players I really liked in this draft. So watching and see what they do in their rookie seasons and, so on and so forth, it's going to be fun to watch.
All right, I got a ton of shout-outs.
Me too.
Snidbits. Do you want a goofy one or a serious one first?
I'll let
Goofy.
Nick call it.
Goofy. Let's go Goofy.
Okay. For Goofy, Carm, I hate to tell you,
Oh, no.
Oh no, really?
officially a pickleball player.
Let's go.
Because
Let's go.
So-
Taking over everywhere.
the Father's Day gift that I received was a pickleball set
Hell
From
yeah.
who?
from my wife and kids.
You should be insulted by that. They just knew that you weren't good enough to play tennis, so they gave you a pickleball set.
I'm the one who's asked you, I think, the last 3 times to play tennis with me, and you turned it down.
I didn't get you a pickleball set because you couldn't play. They just want to play with you.
I played with James, and James did pretty good for first time ever.
It's a fun sport.
Exactly, because anybody can do it. Their first time out there. Let's give it to a 9-year-old. Next thing you know, he's a ringer. Game's so easy. Play tennis. Enough with this pickleball.
You know,
congrats to James. Or
sometimes
something.
it's not about winning, which you never do, by the way.
It's always about winning and losing.
Sometimes it's just about getting a workout in that is enjoyable.
It's not a workout.
So if a sport happens to
it's
be
a workout.
fun,
it's an activity. That's not a workout.
do you have the same thoughts about golf?
Yes. That's not a workout.
I say this with all due respect, but go fuck yourself.
Oh, golf's a workout.
I didn't say it was a workout,
workout.
but don't call it an activity.
It's an activity.
That's a sport.
It's a hobby. Except for those who are like the greatest at it, who like sit at the range for hours and hours. For those, it's a sport. For everyone else that's out there, it's like bad athletes who like to think they're athletes and act like they're athletes, and they go out and golf.
The golf community is going to find you and
I love the dude that can't make a layup that stands over his golf putt for an hour as if he's going to figure something out in the green. Just step up there and miss it already and move along.
Well, this is how I can tell you didn't watch any of the U.S. Open yesterday, because this is where you should be shitting on Rory for.
I saw that
2-3 foot putts to lose the U.S. Open.
That sucks.
I
lost a lot of millions there.
I was genuinely devastated. Like even when I went to bed last night, I was like thinking about Rory. And I'm not going to do a whole golf podcast here, but I literally could. With everything, just as a human being, the amount of things. See, Carm's just going to roll his eyes because you don't know anything about any of this stuff, and that's fine. You don't need to follow it. But everything that's been going on with Liv and the weight of the world of that whole thing, hasn't won a major in 10 years. He was going through a divorce, and then they backed off the divorce. Like, all this stuff that's been going on, and he's got a lead in the U.S. Open to win his first major in a decade and do it over Bryson DeChambeau, the only popular live player that exists right now, and he choked it away. Like, one of the all-time chokes, not only in golf, but sports, quite frankly. And Rory is so likable, one of the most popular players out there. And to have that happen, that was honestly gut-wrenching. It was tough to watch.
Did you see the stats on how
I just watched it. Like,
oh, yeah.
it's bad.
Let me see.
He was 496 for his last 496 on those putts within 3 feet.
Did you hear that, Carmen? He made 496 straight putts from that distance.
What was he up when he shot the putt of the first one?
So
he
missed one on 16. Is that the one on 16?
He's at 6 under there.
No, this is the one on 18. So that was the one.
oh,
So if he had made that, they would have gone. Well, he was at. Yeah.
That's nauseating.
Yeah.
Sports still sucks, but that's nauseating.
he was so close.
I'm not here to hate on people who put
Get in there,
life,
ball.
put their life work into something to have that happen. That sucks.
The other thing was he was putting unbelievably yesterday until that on 16.
It was just the moment. It was the moment.
And then, but by the way, Bryson DeChambeau's bunker shot on 18 was incredible. And one of the cooler pieces of TV I've ever seen. Go check this out if you haven't. I retweeted it last night. So Bryson DeChambeau wins the U.S. Open with this insane bunker shot, then makes the putt to get the win. So Johnson Wagner, who works for the Golf Channel, is in the bunker. I can actually show you this, Carm. Well, here's actually just better the photo.
While he's doing that, I just asked.
No, just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So he's out there. It's already dark. Yep. Johnson Wagner's live on the Golf Channel, trying to show how hard of a bunker shot that actually was. He's in the same exact bunker. Bryson DeChambeau rolls up on a golf cart with his trophy in hand and joins the segment to recreate the whole thing. Walks him through it. The money up part of this is as cool of just a moment this is for Bryson DeChambeau to do this great television. Johnson Wagner sticks it closer than Bryson DeChambeau did to like a foot in the dark. It was unbelievable.
I got to tell you, I got a question for you. Not for you, actually for the chat. Would you rather watch
okay, here we go.
3 holes of the most intense golf of your life or Caleb Williams warm up at OTAs? 1 is for golf, 2 is for Caleb at OTAs. 3 holes of the most intense golf of all time, or 2 Caleb Williams warm up at OTAs.
And warm up, we're just talking about like
I hope
stretching.
I hope even for a Bears audience here that they don't know.
Here comes Kadik from the corner saying, I'm a tennis fan, no room to talk.
You don't have any room to talk.
Those are legit athletes playing 5 hours, sweating their... here comes Kadik with the tennis is the most boring sport. Listen, the whole chat's going too.
Yeah,
Thank you,
you know why?
Bears podcast.
All due respect to our audience, I love each and every one of you. You're asking a group of people watching a Bears show live on June 17th.
I gave him the peak of golf. I gave him the peak.
The peak golf.
3 holes of intense golf.
This segment of the population, as much as I love and respect them, is the most biased possible audience you could have asked this question.
And I love them
We
for
love
it.
our diehards. Love you
Thank
guys.
you. I'd watch paint dry over an intense golf match. I am with Pepe.
Wow.
Well, I'm sorry
Must
you
be
guys
intense paint.
missed out yesterday because I had a great afternoon drinking Miller Lights.
You ever watch pickleball? That shit's intense
I've
too.
watched some.
Pickleball
it's
channel.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Here comes Bert. Carm is the king of arrogant. He wants to call other people out being arrogant. I'm not calling anybody out for being arrogant. I'm just saying golf sucks.
All right, what else you got, Carmen?
What I got? Well, I got one for you two from our guy Steve, diehard from Melbourne. One of my favorite people. Saw him at Wrigley Field. He's a great supporter of us. And he wrote us in our Twitter, you said we can throw some questions at you guys in the offseason to answer on the show. I've been a Bulls fan for many years and thought I'd give the Bears a go last year, and I'm hooked. My question, what is the difference between a 4-3 and a 3-4, and what is a nickel and a dime? Seems super confusing. Thanks, guys. Love the show. Steve, diehard, Melbourne, you're not the only one that doesn't quite understand 4-3, 3-4, nickel and dime. I hand you off to our special teams coordinator and leader, Adam Hoge, and to our guy, Nicholas Moreano, to explain it in ways that they would understand.
Well, the most simplest way to explain it is a 4-3 has 4 down defensive linemen with 3 off-the-ball linebackers behind them. And a 3-4 is the opposite of that. You have 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers.
Now, Adam, would all 4 guys, if it's a 4-3, would they all have their hand in the dirt before a rushing first and 10?
Most of the time, yes. And if you're in a
Standard.
3-4, the edge rushers that are outside linebackers who may walk up to the line of scrimmage to make it look kind of like a 4-3 are most likely going to be in a 2-point stance, which is why Steve's
Steve's the man.
especially in today's NFL, it's not a huge difference anymore. These defenses are so hybrid, and especially to answer the second part of your question with nickel. Nickel just means you have 5 DBs on the field.
See.
Okay, usually facing 3 wide receivers, in which you're taking a linebacker off.
So that 4-3, you're taking
Yep.
maybe that third linebacker off.
There's just these defenses are so hybrid that there's not the biggest thing really comes down to personnel at, to me, the defensive end, hand in the ground defensive end versus more of your hybrid
2-point.
edge rushers going to be more of a 2-point stance. But then you have guys like Khalil Mack that can easily go between them and doesn't make a
whatever.
difference. In terms of dime, that would be a sub package, which is a little not as frequent. The Bears do have a dime package, but that was when you would have 6 defensive backs.
Going small.
Maybe add an extra safety out there, something like that.
And when would they do that, Adam?
Oh, most likely in an obvious
Passing down
passing
situation.
down situation.
4th and 20, Steve. You're rarely going to see it.
Yeah, 3rd down. Sometimes you'll get creative, maybe in a red zone situation where it's like more like goal to go from the 8 or the 9.
Not going to be running it.
You know,
Yeah.
And, Nick, what do you like about the 4-3 versus the 3-4, and then we'll move along?
I guess it depends on your personnel. If you have more guys that are hand in the dirt in your 4-3, you're going to like that. And if you have more versatile, athletic pass rushers that have speed and get around the edge, you can put them in that 2-point stance. But it's all personnel-based. That's why defensive coordinators will find – that's why teams will draft certain players to fit their scheme so that they know they'll transition well. But I do like in that question that you got there, Mark, because we're supposed to promote our guy Will Gottlieb. You mentioned the Bulls, right? Will Gottlieb, our guy here at CHGO Bulls, has a great piece on Alex Caruso. The Chicago Bulls have passed on the great offers for Alex Caruso before. Will they do it again or look to extend him? Go check it out. It's on allchgo.com. Anything that Will writes always has a, very in-depth and
Live draft show coming up June 26th, PB&J in the West Loop. That place is awesome. The show is awesome. The Bulls are not awesome, but maybe they'll be awesome again someday. Come on out, have some fun, see what they do with the 11th overall pick.
By the way, I encourage you to go check out Will Gottlieb's piece.
It
made me want to vomit.
I've been having this argument with Will. Like, there's no way the Bulls were offered that a top 10 pick for Alex Caruso, and they said no. There's no way they would do that. But apparently they did that. That's unbelievable to me.
To be clear,
that might be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, more so than Atlanta and Terry Fontenot.
The only reason I didn't vomit was because Will did such a great job with the piece. But the information that he presented is what made me want to vomit.
Right.
What a sad organization. You got another one here from Mike?
Mike.
No, that's not exactly correct. Mike Brumley passed away, Hoge, who was a Chicago Cub, and he was 61 years old in a car crash. Super sad.
Yikes.
Was just reading some tributes to him. Not somebody that Cubs and or Sox fans to think about a whole lot. But he was traded from the Red Sox to the Cubs in '84. Carm's formative years here. Dennis Eckersley coming to the Cubs, who I used to try to throw like. Bill Buckner, who was like one of my first ever biggest baseball crushes, was traded out of there. The Bucks passed away too. But 1987, my all-time favorite Cub, Sean Dunston, got hurt, and so did Rhino. And they had an infield rotation going out of Paul Noche, Luis Quinones, Mike Brumley. And let me tell you, White Sox baseball this year, and even Cubs baseball at this point, it was horrible in '87 when Brumley was out there, which is not the best way to honor him. But it did make me think about my childhood. And, R.I.P. and congrats to a dude that made it to the majors, the most exclusive country club in the history of the planet. He got there. And also, Darren Jackson was on that Cubs team. DJ's a great guy. Yeah. That's that.
All right. You want to shout out our new diehards?
Well, first we got Chris. And, Nick, what can you say about Chris?
It's my dad.
He's a great dad. He's a leader. But I like to think about Chris in another way. I like to think about the consistency of Chris. I like to think about the work ethic of Chris. I like to think about the way that Chris, every single day, comes out there with a methodicalness, a determination to be the best that they can possibly be. And Chris has done that for years on end now, and that has allowed Chris to become a diehard. And Chris, we love you for it, and we welcome you to the diehard family.
Love it.
And then there's Larry. In the shadows of your younger brother is not easy. It's not easy at all. And Larry's done that with grace and with self-validation and also with success because Larry has gotten to places in his life that I have massive respect for. Larry can jump out of the gym, but Larry can shoot it as well. And Larry doesn't take losses well, but Larry bounces back, and Larry's a winner, and Larry's a diehard. We welcome you, Larry. You're the man. And then Kevin, a man who hates tennis and is not afraid to vocalize it at any moment, even when it's at the expense of a sport that I don't think he likes either, the sad-ass game of golf, which I can't wait to get back out there. And Kevin, Kevin's a guy that absolutely just can be a rock-solid person for you in the sea of the storm. And you need people like that in your life. And we have needed Kevin to come in here with his creativeness, with his perspective, with his easygoing nature, but that also has an underlying intensity. It's not one way to skin a cat. Kevin knows that. And that's why Kevin's been able to rise up in his land of the Kevins to single himself out as a very, very talented and accomplished Kevin. And we welcome Kevin to our diehard family. Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin Fishbane.
Oh, yeah. And that guy, too. Maybe it's Fishbane. Could be a Fishbane.
I'm gonna send him this part of the podcast to watch.
Could be.
Never mind.
It could be. By the way, speaking of Fishbane, Fishbane and golf?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Kevin Fishbane is really good at a lot of things in life. He's a great dad. He's a great husband. He's a phenomenal Bears beat reporter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the greatest picker of golf tournaments I've ever seen in my entire life.
What does that mean?
We're in a golf pool together, and he somehow sees the future. Every single week, he's got the right pick. It doesn't make – he's so good, he accidentally screwed up and picked somebody he had already picked and got disqualified that week. And if it wasn't for that, he'd be in first place.
Wow.
He's even picking guys he can't pick correctly.
I mean, Fishbane's just an elite individual.
Man of many talents.
Yeah.
The
Makes me
Fishbane.
sick. I can't pick. Whoever I pick sucks.
Should start picking who he picks.
Colin Morikawa this week. He didn't suck, but he made himself a lot of money. Just not me.
Can I say one last thing on the shout-outs? Shout out to Fishbane, by the way. Love Fishbane. Can I say one more thing, which might get us in trouble, but hopefully won't?
Great.
Oh, perfect.
Then no, you can't.
Listen to me. Listen to me. All you insane people who are having over-the-top reactions to Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark at WNBA basketball.
About to be a tavern-style topic.
Yeah, it is. Listen loud and clear. First of all, number one, sports hate, sports rivalries, sports competition is good for sports.
Yes.
Attention is a good thing. Caitlin Clark is great for the WNBA, and so is Angel Reese. All right? And if you don't know, if you can't identify when somebody is trying to take someone's head off versus trying to go for the basketball and then ends up hitting her in the head,
That's on you.
then that is on you. Period. And there's two sides to this conversation that I keep on seeing on Twitter, which is equally uncomfortable on both sides. And I get that we've got a white girl and a black girl and all sorts of stuff that people have underneath that is moving their thoughts and stuff. It's disgusting. This people should be handling this the way Caitlin Clark is handling this. Every time she's asked about it, she is completely and utterly first class. She's a competitor. She's had a ton of wins in her career. She's done a ton of great things. Hasn't veered off it once. And you got another person on the other side, an Angel, who's a little bit annoyed at all the stuff that's coming at her. I get that too. So this thing should be getting celebrated, but instead people are trying to turn it into something that it really shouldn't be. And it's like got this weird feeling of politics to it and all this, and it's nauseating. They're playing hoop. Hoop is competitive. People have been jealous of stars their whole life. People were jealous of Jordan. People were jealous of Bird. People were jealous of Magic. I'm not saying that Caitlin's on that level. They're jealous of her and her millions. It's normal. Completely normal. So, and by the way, Angel it's not like her bank account's empty. She's got a ton of brands around her. I'm sure she's doing quite well. So, everyone's getting paid here. The game is getting attention. And yes, Robert Lee, you're right. Caitlin is getting clobbered, and it's not surprising. She's a rookie in the league. She hasn't, and they're going at her because it's a super competitive league, and she's handling it just fine. She played an amazing game yesterday, and the Indiana Fever beat the Sky.
Yeah.
So
she also has the ball all the time. She's gonna get hit.
She's going to get hit,
Right.
yeah.
I'm going to repeat what I said the last time this whole thing. I'm enjoying it. I was watching basketball. I was watching WNBA basketball on a beautiful Sunday in Chicago in the middle of summer. I saw the play live when it happened. It actually, right when I turned on the game, was because I didn't watch the whole game. I turned it on kind of right when that play happened, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a flagrant.
It's a flagrant.
It's a flagrant. She was going for the ball. She missed the ball. She hit the head. That's a flagrant one. Let's move on to the next play."
done.
And that should be how it is.
Right.
Social media
Right.
is fixating. Like Matt Leinart, I don't know what's his issue with. I mean, this dude's going off the rails saying she should be suspended. Like, I don't know, man.
It's just you're telling on yourself out there.
Yeah.
You are telling on
No doubt.
yourself in a big time
I just
way.
think it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep on enjoying it. By the way, neither of those two teams are very good. And I think the ratings were probably very good because it's an interesting rivalry, and I think that's okay too.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I hope it – and by the way, Angel Reese has been pretty damn good. She's probably the best rookie in the league right now.
Yeah.
She's been better than Caitlin. Well, Kalen was pretty good yesterday. But a couple more things. One is a tease and one is a thank you. Tomorrow, got an ex-Bear.
Woof. It's going to be good.
That I think you're going to enjoy coming right here in studio to have some conversations. Knows a little bit about defensive line play. Henry Melton is going to be here tomorrow.
Let's go. I'm excited.
So he's been living his Chicago life, if you follow him on Instagram. And so he's going to be here tomorrow. We're looking forward to that.
Number 69.
And what's that?
Number 69, Henry Melton.
That's right. That's right. Saw him out at House Hall a couple weeks ago when they had all the alumni in town for OTAs.
And the family.
Yeah, that's right. Last one is yesterday being Father's Day. I just want to give a quick shout out to my dad because he was actually gone for the weekend because it happened to be his brother's 80th birthday same weekend. So, but obviously my dad, you guys know, Papa Hoge, he's in the chat all the time. He's
the
watching
great Papa Hoge.
every show. He has been an absolute rock star with everything going on in our family and helping my sister and temporarily moving to Minnesota and then coming right back down here and helping us with the kids every day. So if there was ever a year or a time to shout out my dad for being an awesome dad, it is right now. So just wanted to do that publicly because I didn't get to see him yesterday.
Shout out Papa Hoge. That was beautiful. Everybody closed their ears for just 1 second. One of the things that I love about Greg Braggs is how much he loves being a dad to his daughter. So shout out to Gregory for everything he does for Addie. It's beautiful to see. I love that. And shout out to everybody out there for who've got the older fathers like yours truly, 98-year-old Papa Fred. I wrote, I swear to you, I wrote like the most like beautiful card. I like to do blank cards. I like to write you something. My card just on the front just said, "I love you, Dad." Nothing in the middle. I wrote this incredible, took time, nice note, the whole thing. Maybe not perfect handwriting, perhaps. I handed it to him at dinner last night. He reads the card, puts the card on the table. No, nothing. I'm like, can I get something out of you? Thanks, Mark. Love you, son. Anything. Thanks a lot. How about just appreciate it? Nothing. So I was like, and I gave a bunch of memories in there. Like, if I'm sitting there, like, should I say something? Should I not say something? I'm like, Dad, did you remember anything that I put in the card? Yeah, I remembered it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I wrote that card for me more so than for you because that felt really good to me to write. And
good.
And that's what you got to do with old people sometimes. They're just, they're past their prime. So shout out to those people out there with the old parents out there who might be missing a little bit these days. I know it ain't easy. I'm in the middle of it. Much love.
Yeah, and for my dad, I just sent him a text message, and obviously saw him later in the day. But this is his first Father's Day without his dad. But I just wanted to remind him that, your dad would be looking down at you, smiling on how you raised myself, my two younger brothers. So he really appreciated that, and got to do a little cookout later in the day. So
that's beautiful.
It was nice. Yeah.
Awesome. One more super chat before we get out of here. Philip, $5. Jumping in here to say the only way to make Carm happy is for Caleb to buy Michael Jordan's mansion. It's been on the market for 10-plus years. Then he'll call him the GOAT.
I mean, he would be the GOAT if he did that. Let's be completely honest.
Hey, for the record, I haven't said a negative word about Caleb Williams, I don't think, ever. Second of all, that'd be a sweet move for Caleb.
That would.
I want to buy that thing. I want to get some investors together. Let's do this.
Caleb's doing really well for himself this early in his career, but he doesn't have that money to buy that mansion yet.
He might.
He's still on a rookie contract. He made $10 million last year in NIL stuff. Is what's been reported?
It's a $15 million house.
It's a $15 million house.
You could put $3 million down, 20%. Buy MJ's house.
Can you Airbnb it? That'd be dope.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying he can't afford it and afford the mortgage payments. Maybe
it wouldn't be, but don't you think it'd be a good investment if you could?
I'd wait till the second contract. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, that's a smart way to do it.
Sure.
Maybe you could split it with Cole Kmet.
I mean, it wouldn't be the most prudent thing to do. Put your money. It's fine.
What type of shape is that house in, by the way? Just sitting there all these years.
Sure,
It's in great shape. Jordan's got some amazing landscaping crew that's keeping it up to date. I don't know. The last video I saw, the place looks terrible. I'm sure they can get it back going. I don't understand why some big shooter hasn't come in there, bought that thing, made it Airbnb'd it, have corporations come and rent it out for weekends. How's that not happened yet?
Have you not
giving
been
away
back there
free
yet?
ideas here?
I know.
Well, I don't.
You did the video in front of it that one time.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to buy my next coffee, let alone. I hate the fact that I spent $4. That's why I'm a member of the Sip Club.
Oh, the Sip Club.
But I had my Sip Club today, and then I needed more because I don't even know why. I had so much energy when I saw you guys today. Probably should. I would have been good. How are we here for an hour and 20 minutes today?
I don't know. I was going to ask you, do you want us to keep talking or
No, we should
we
go.
end the show? This is a Carm stream of consciousness for the next 40 minutes?
I'm ready to go. Bye.
Okay, tomorrow, Henry Melton in studio right here at noon. We'll talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.